Welcome back to The Shelves Have Eyes. I'm Phantom, and today we'll be continuing with the Miniverse Harry Potter Potions Make It Mini Potions collection. Let's take a look at what's inside this capsule, shall we? Alright, let's look inside what's in this capsule. So, we know that this white package always contains the potion top and the cork for the container. So let's just get that out of the way. We've got a little cauldron, so that means that it is going to be a potion. And the stand and the stir/server for the cauldron. Good. All right, let's take a look at what we are doing today. Infusion of Wormwood. Okay, this looks very cool. Read me first. I will not. Tables. Tongs and a little stirring spoon. All right, we got a nice little stand and a little flask for the finished potion. And I'm going to presume this is a little cork. Yep. There we go. Little cork. Little cork. I assume these are the actual ingredients, which will be unmarked. Oh, would you look at that? Something lavender. Little baby skulls again. And a little labeling cord for it. I'm wondering if just because of the baby skulls, which are not acid green, and the lavender coloration, if this particular set is supposed to be what we made in the potions classroom, which was unnamed. I'm just going by similarity of ingredients. But let's find out. All right, so let's get started making this infusion of wormwood. The instructions for this are exceedingly simple. Once again, for Miniverse directions, they are extraordinarily vague. You mix an untold amount of the coloring powder into the resin, then you drop some of these little balls in, and then you pour it in the container. And then that's it. So, its construction should be exceedingly simple. Well, let's take a look and do what we always do. We're going to be decanting all of the cauldron into this little resin cup and doing all of our mixing so you beautiful people can see how we are going to do it. So let's move some of the stuff out of the way and knock everything over in the process. I don't know what the simmering vessel is for. The instructions don't even show it, so I don't know why it's being included with this set. Yeah, the instructions don't show anything to do with that simmering vessel, so I don't know why it's included, and there doesn't even seem to be anything that we would use it for. So maybe it's just kind of like the Felix Felicius includes candles for some strange reason. Let's just chalk it up to Miniverse trying to give you some extra stuff to diversify your play. First, let's pop open this resin container. Really gonna make me get my knife, huh? I'm not making the same mistake I made with the hellebore syrup. I don't think they gave me enough. I'm just making sure everything is out of this cauldron. Alright, so first direction seems to be pour in as much of the purple coloration as you'd like. So this is apparently where the magic is. Right, we'll see how that looks and then we'll decide whether we need more or not. So once again, we are faced with another Miniverse potion set that is really an ingredient and not an actual potion. Like the hellebore syrup before it, this is also a highly poisonous infusion that is used in the Draught of Living Death, which makes sense because something called the Draught of Living Death would theoretically have a lot of poisons in it, wouldn't you think? So we are faced with, once again, an ingredient instead of a potion that there's a dearth of lore about it, let's just say. It is used in the Draught of Living Death. I believe it's also used in the Happiness Potion. and a sleeping draught as well. All of the images that I could pull for the Infusion of Wormwood do show that the potion is green. So I don't know why this is so purple, so lavender. Maybe it pays to my previous theory about Miniverse making these potion sets with color coordination in mind, rather than it actually being realistic or screen accurate. Wormwood is naturally a green color. It's a chartreuse. It gives wormwood is the key ingredient in absinthe that gives it its extraordinarily soporific narcotic properties, along with laudanum. But wormwood itself is, I believe, green. And almost everything that has wormwood in it is green. I don't know why this is purple. It's a very attractive purple, don't get me wrong, but I would prefer a little bit more accuracy in Miniverse sets, but it seems like I'm not going to be getting that with this set. Right, so I think that that's very well mixed, and it just says drop in some of these white jobbies here. I have no idea what they are. Stones. Looking at them, they kind of look like the baby heads, the atomic green baby heads from the Potions Classroom set. Let's take a closer look. Here is one of the pieces. Nope. Up. I'm knocking down everything. Everything is flying everywhere at all times in this Potions Classroom. I spilled mica powder. Oh, that's going to come back and bite me. And it's mostly gone. Look at that. It's magic. I used Evanesco. On closer inspection, these just look like very spruey fruits, nuts. I'm not exactly certain what they're supposed to be, but they are not skulls. They kind of do look like skulls, but they are not. There's a lot of sprue on these pieces, presumably because they are the stems to whatever this is. It says dump some of them in. Does not give an exact amount, so let's just do half of them. Whoa, those are very spruey. Okay, well, that's more than half, but because of the sprue, a whole clump of them just fell in all at once. So let's close up this little ingredient canister and let's put that in our classroom, you know, for future whatnots. It says stir these little whatever's in, and then you decant them into the vessel, trying to break them up a little bit. Some of these are clumped together. They're connected with little bits of sprue, so it's gonna get a little clumpy in there. Let us take our industrial-sized flask. See, this actually makes sense more than the Polyjuice potion, because if this is an ingredient infusion of wormwood, you would be making or mixing or crushing this in a large quantity to produce an extreme volume of it, because it is used in several potions. Here, the industrial-sized flask makes sense. In Polyjuice, yeah, let's just not get into the thought of what commercial Polyjuice would be used for in Harry Potter, shall we? Once again, we're going to get some clump in here. I'm going to have to push these whatever's down into the flask as we go. It is a very vibrant color. I do like the color a lot, actually. I am quite partial to lavender and the purple colors. Pay close attention to the viscosity, apparently. All right, so let's just try to tap some of this down. It's definitely more full than the hellebore syrup flask was. Looking at it, all of the plastic white fruit nut things are all just sitting there down at the bottom. So I'm just going to take a toothpick and agitate them a little bit so that they're more evenly distributed and not just in the bottom, or at least try. See, you just got a whole collection, a cluster of them right here. And much like the Polyjuice potion, you'll see that as I'm curing this, bubbles are actually forming along the rim of where the liquid is in the beaker, in the flask. Dwarf in the flask homunculus! So maybe hitting this with indirect light would be a better idea. Unlike the Honeyduke sets, the potions are usually in translucent bottles, so we don't need to go full apparatus here. This should be enough to cure the resin just by doing it through the quote-unquote glass. Now it says cure 5 to 10 minutes in the sun, so we'll see how long this takes under UV light. All right, let's see how we're doing. Now this looks pretty set. I'll probably put it under the apparatus anyway, just for a little while, just to make sure that it is fully set. But for our purposes, this is pretty well done. Unfortunately, all of the fruit things are just down at the bottom. Having them suspended in the liquid would have been a great idea, but unlike the Polyjuice potion, this is just an ingredient. So this would be something that would just sit on a shelf until it's needed, and the contents would settle. Realistic? Let's go for realistic, shall we? I'd really like to know what these things are, but all right, let's put a stopper in death, and let's get our little twine card out, shall we? Once again, still don't have a pen with a small enough nib to do any writing on it, but I believe that this is a stick-on. A good old-fashioned gum label. That's what we're looking at here. So the instructions say to wrap the cord around the bottle, kind of like you would wrap a pastry box or a pie box. I'm not exactly certain how they expect us to do that, but let's see if we can do something like that. Absolute pants at this. Absolute pants. Let's see if we can just lasso it. I think that might be how they want you to do it. Maybe? Maybe not. How are you supposed to get that to stay on? I've got a terrible idea. Let's use a tiny dollop of the leftover resin that we have. There's a concavity here at the bottom of the bottle. So let's just put a little drop of resin there to affix the twine right there, and then see if that will give us enough tension where we can do this weird hourglass spiral that they want us to do. Like the potions classroom all over again. I meant the brick and mortar that they were expecting you to do. All right, we put a little bit more resin right in that reservoir on the bottom. So I'm just going to stick the middle point of this twine into it. And then let's hope that that will provide enough of an anchor so that we can actually tie this thing. That's no longer tacky, and it does look like it's adhered pretty well to the bottom. You'll see that this has really gotten soaked with the resin, the twine, but that was the only way to make sure that it went into the hollow and adhered enough. So now we've just got to be careful when we do the actual knot that we don't pull too hard on that. I didn't go to Boy Scouts. I don't know the first thing about knotting in terms of nautical knots or any kind of knot at all, really, other than a simple knot. So that's what we're going to be doing here. Just a simple knot with one hand. All right, So, after a long and laborious process, this is about as close as I can get to what the directions say. We've got the little crisscross, and I tied this up top as best I could. So that's about the best you can do. Ideally, they would have given you some kind of threaded basket, like a woven basket bottom, like the bottom of a bottle of Chianti, so you could shove the bottle in and not have to worry about it constantly getting undone, because this is a round-bottomed flask. But in lieu of that, we just stuck it a little bit. It still fits on the stand as much as it would have, and just had to do a little double knot there at the top. So that, I think this is the best that we can do with what we've been given. I'm going to call that done. I think that looks fine. So there you have it. This is our Infusion of Wormwood, which is not green like it should be, and is instead kind of an acid jelly purple, but that's fine. I think that it's going to look very nice on the shelf along with all the other potions that we're making. It is distinctly different in terms of color, really. If you look at how the colors break down for the rest of the sets, there is not really a duplicate color at all. Mert Lap Essence is supposed to be a darker purple. This is a lighter purple. Same thing with Polyjuice, it's a lighter green. Flesh Eating Slugs is a darker green. So I think that really Miniverse is just going for diversity of colors, of hues in this line. I will go back to what I said when I did the Potions Classroom. This is really just, once again, shoving a lot of stuff to a bottle, curing it, and then you have whatever it is. However, this is not a potion. This is just an ingredient. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a pass there, kind of like the hellebore syrup. I feel like they could have done actual potions, but they decided to do things that people might recognize as being words spoken during a potions lesson or mentioned on the page. Yes, Infusion of Wormwood. Yes, hellebore syrup. All of these ingredient projects are something that would spark some kind of recognition in the maker's mind, saying, oh, yes, I know that word. I know that that is a syrup or an essence. I know what that is, as much as we know what any of these potions are. I think that it is fairly attractive. It's more attractive than some of the other ingredient-only potions. This is a mite sight better than the hellebore, and in terms of quality, in a completely different stratosphere than the two potions that we made with the classroom, even if I had used full portions of the resin for either one. The bottle is really irritating because of the way that they want you to tie it. It bothers me that these things are just submerged in the bottom, but like I said, if it's just going to sit there as an ingredient on the shelf for years or decades, you're going to get some kind of settling involved. And I don't think that there's any potion that asks you to agitate the contents before you use it. If there is an ingredient suspended in liquid that needs to be part of whatever concoction you're trying to make, then it should be ground up, or in a powder form, or in a tincture form, so that you know that when you add that ingredient to whatever potion you're trying to make, for, let's just say, the Draught of Living Death, you know that you're getting the full amount that you need. This just seems like Snape's making vanilla extract in the potions classroom. He's just dumping vanilla bean pods into alcohol and letting it steep for years in order to make vanilla extract. So in this case, maybe the wormwood is in, maybe these little white pieces of something are the wormwood, and it's just being suspended in an alcohol so that it infuses together, and you're just supposed to use the liquid. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here. All told, this was a lot less involved than the other two sets that I made previously in terms of the Sleeping Draught Cupcakes and Umbridge's tea set. I mean, Umbridge's tea set was pretty much the exact same thing, but I liked all the accoutrements to it. That automatically boosts it in my mind as a worthwhile project. Plus, there was so much lore attached to that. There is virtually no lore to Infusion of Wormwood. But for what it is, I think it's attractive. I'd like to see more things like it. I don't think that everything in the series needs to be a potion. I'm fine with some of the projects being ingredients like this or like the hellebore syrup. Mainly because, just like Honeydukes, the Honeydukes series that they're making right now, it's not necessarily about whether it fits into a candy or a potion. It's that it brings to mind in the brain of the maker of this craft something from Harry Potter that they recognize, whether that be a word or an offhand comment. I mean, some of these things, both for the potions and the Honeydukes, they are really stretching what constitutes a candy or what constitutes a potion. I enjoyed making this. It was very simple. I really like the color. I don't think I would have added more of that mica powder because I really like this hue. You don't want it to get too dark. You want it to remain kind of translucent. This is very fluorescent, actually, as a matter of fact. And I really appreciate that. But that's been the Infusion of Wormwood potion in MGA's Harry Potter Potions Series 1. Thank you very much for joining me on this journey. And if you like this content, please like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel so you know when the next one is released. We're going to keep putting these out. Do you think that MGA should be putting out ingredients as potions? Do you think that they should be including more potions? Do you think that in a prospective Series 2, they're going to be doing a lot more esoteric actual potions rather than just ingredients? You let me know in the comments. I've been Phantom. This has been The Shelves Have Eyes. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a good night, y'all.